Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm HOC2 Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Whiteout Survival, I want to talk about getting first place in Hall of Chiefs. As a new player, I didn't really know what to expect. I went in thinking, yeah, building and research is going to be the way, and I learned it's just largely about training troops, not even upgrading your heroes, although you can do a lot with that. So in this video, you can use the timestamps to jump to whichever part you'd like, and if you're new to my channel, consider subscribing, because I'm a brand new player to the game. I've been here for about a week and a half, a little bit longer, in Whiteout Survival, and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm up to 28 million power. I've been whaling my way through this game, and I've spent well over $200,000 in mobile games over the last 6 years. Now, in fairness, this is not my first YouTube channel. Technically, I've already got a YouTube channel, 250,000 subscribers. So consider subscribing here as well to join me on this journey. This channel is dedicated to Whiteout Survival. What did I learn from Hall of Chiefs? Well, like I said, I went in thinking it's going to be all about building and research. And I actually went all the way to first level 30 on the final day of the event. But I'm going to pull up a list of all the different ways you can earn points in this event. And before I do, I just want to talk about why, like for the sake of what. Hall of Chiefs is all about Jeronimo. It's the first 3 in your server. This event gets replaced later for events to provide the generational heroes that come later. But initially, you can get Jeronimo. Now, the weird thing is, well, Jeronimo comes from VIP. And the only way to upgrade Jeronimo is to use his shards. You can't use the sort of universal shards to go and do that. So depending on how far and how fast you'll get through VIP, you can actually max Jeronimo by getting 300 shards over the course of some number of these Hall of Chiefs events without getting to VIP 12. In other words, the journey to VIP 12 is going to be a long one, okay? And you get some shards right over here. In fact, it's 300 of them. Right. So if you can get those 300 shards some other way, it stands to reason you can max Jeronimo before this point. And as it turns out, he's so good that if you're a rally lead in your server, this is going to be a big, big deal. That's why I pushed in the Hall of Chiefs. And by the way, I pushed a majority of, not a majority, but a lot of my power before Hall of Chiefs even started, just to get a good placement in the server and just to sort of establish both myself as an authority in this server and also our alliance as an authority, which, by the way, it worked. And the thing is that power respects power. Failing having any other evidence that you know what you're talking about, people are going to look at your power and make assumptions. And so I pushed a bunch of power at the start. It's what I did. And what I would say about that is I don't regret pushing power at the start, but it did hinder my ability to place easily during the Hall of Chiefs event. There were consequences, okay? Why is that? Well, let me pull up again the way that you get points in the different days that you do that. I'll have a link to this website in the description. I thought they had a really helpful section about Hall of Chiefs. I can speak to the accuracy of this part because it showcases how the first Hall of Chiefs worked, but later I'll show you how the points are going to work for the second Hall of Chiefs and the third Hall of Chiefs, all right? So, the first Hall of Chiefs, stage 1, is building power, construction, and research. 45 points each per point of power you gain that way. And I found it to be very, very slow. I think I got like 80 or 120 million points. Like, it was a small amount relative to the final score, which, by the way, was about 480 million. And I'll put on screen very briefly the like sort of final power push that I did, because in the final seconds, I mean, it's correct to push power. You can do it so fast with troop training that I had to start training again, big training, because otherwise I might get past, all right? So stage 1 is city construction. I got a lot of points there. Hero development in the first Hall of Chiefs, there were people that saved the overwhelming majority of all shards that they got for all heroes, and they blasted through them, and they got hundreds of millions of points. This was big. This was a big stage. Playing the lucky wheel was cool, got you some points. Using those mythic hero shards was cool, but let me tell you, if you waited and then max Natalia and then use your Jeronimo shards and your, just on and on and on, your Molly shards and holy cow, man, you could get a lot of points. But troop training defined the whole thing. Okay. So I made a prior video where I trained just a ton of troops. At that point, people left comments. They were like, nice ego training, bro. And, they had some sort of harsh things to say and some harsh ways to say them. But the message that I take away, if I look with a, what if they had good intentions approach, was that troops aren't the most important thing. And I would agree, except, first of all, it's the early game. And before I had not even 45,000 troops, I could not even halfway fill, I could halfway fill one of my armies, okay? And only one of them. So now I can fill multiple armies to play events, which gives me dividends in the form of rewards. And also, if there's any fighting in our server, like, you need troops for that. So am I going to train those troops for no upside whatsoever to respond to handle a fight? Or do I just train in advance and just establish? And I think establishing is the way. I get about 320 million points from training troops, all right? Beast slaying was a very slow phase. You can rally polar terrors. The reason this is slow is in part because if you want to do this well, you are going to have to use Gina to do those rallies. She reduces the cost of running a rally by 20% when you have her to 4 stars and you max out that skill. And 20%, that's a lot, man. You can run a lot more of these things. So either you're super inefficient and like you're constantly running many rallies on these just nonstop for 24 hours, or you're just not going to get many points. And I think this is just expensive and not realistically a phase where you can get very much. And then power boost is where things go down in the end and it gets kind of crazy. And the reason that it can get kind of crazy, by the way, is that it's still not as many points as training, and it's not as many points as the construction and research phase, but it's like 2/3 as many. And as it turns out, that's a lot of points, and you get pretty dang far. So I ended up having to burst train at the end just to make sure I didn't get past, because the person, even though I had like 130 million points of gap, that's not very much. In the grand scheme of things, we could talk about spending in mobile games, but like, it did not take much money, okay, in the grand scheme of things to go and be able to train a bunch of troops and push like 100 million points. And like, okay, yes, $100 is still a lot of money, but in this genre of game, the reality is that there's plenty of people out there who will not think much of spending a lot more than that, all right? So, yeah, I had speed ups on hand. I ended up needing to use a non-trivial amount of speed ups, gain some power. GG, got the first place. Getting first place locked up 200 shards. Remember, to replace the 300 shards I need from VIP 12, I need another good placement. Second place in a future version of Hall of Chiefs is going to give me 100 shards. So how do I place well in a future version of Hall of Chiefs? Well, the second version of Hall of Chiefs is different. So here we see that stage 1 is the same. Stage 2 is the same. Stage 3 is the same. Okay. Stage 4, gather resources, looks like it's going to include research again, which is kind of interesting if that's true. But stage 5 now includes hero gear essence stones and widgets for exclusive hero gear. And that's kind of a big deal. And raising your chief gear score on the final day is a lot of points as well. So I have a suspicion that hero gear could play a big part in the next one, obviously. And also, of course, troop training is the way that people gain a lot of points. So my game plan going into the next Hall of Chiefs might end up being to push to get tier 10 troops unlocked and then upgrade from low tier to high tier, and or some amount of power boost that comes from hero gear. All right. Then we swing around to the next Hall of Chiefs. And what this is going to have is very, very similar. You see here that stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 is the same. Stage 4 is the same. Stage 5 has hero gear essence stones, widgets for exclusive hero gear. Oh, widgets. Were there widgets in the last one? Were there widgets? There were widgets. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you what widgets are in game in case you don't know, but pushing widgets is going to be a big deal. And I mean, this just adds so much power to the hero in terms of their effectiveness, I think. And then look at this stage is just chief gear score. It's just get chief gear score. And then over here, The final stage is hero development. So 1 rare hero shard, epic hero shard, mythic shard, and just minutes of speed ups. Holy cow. Minutes of speed ups for points could be kind of nuts for pushing Furnace level 30, right? I don't know how it compares to doing it during the construction phase. But the point I wanted to make here is that, first of all, you can max Jeronimo before VIP 12. And that's kind of a big deal. Second of all, training played a way bigger role than I thought it would. But third of all, people had a lot to say about training not being a great way to do it. Now, I'd argue you need troops at the start of the game, and it's perfectly fine. But their point, I think well received, is, but the thing you'll need later so much more is your chief gear. It's your hero gear. It's maybe the widgets, but the widgets don't go from generation to generation. So let me jump back in game and show you what I mean. So here's the hero gear that I have on Jeronimo. And if I go to Mastery Forging, this is where we start talking about the use of Essence Stones. Using an Essence Stone is going to give a percentage-based boost, which is obviously a pretty big deal. Okay, gear strength up and gear stats up. Yeah. Multipliers on your multipliers, okay? The widget is right over here. Each hero has a widget that is specifically for that hero. So the rest of this gear you can unequip, you can move around. Okay, you could put it on a different hero if you wanted. But the widget sticks, it's just for that hero, it sticks with them. This is in part why a hero like Jeronimo is very cool, because like for a long time you can get value with him. And already I find that at 4 stars he's better than my Natalia rather, at 5 stars. And I did take him to level 70 now. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is chief gear. I don't want to show exactly how many materials I have, so I'm just going to inspect somebody else. And so let's see here. I click him and I click his profile. Right. So he doesn't have chief gear, but there's chief gear. He's got one piece. There's chief gear. There's chief charms. There's like a bunch of way that you can improve your chief power, your chief gear power. And that's going to end up being, in my opinion, a pretty big deal for these upcoming stages, right? Because if people are saying that training troops is bad, and they're telling me I'm an ego trainer, even though the game just started, like, okay, got it. So I see what they're after, which is that troops are important to a point, but it doesn't matter if you have tons more troops than somebody if you actually are completely outstatted and get rolled anyways, right? So at this point, I have 115,000 infantry at tier 9. I have 107,000 marksmen, and I've got 52,000 lancers. And I think the game plan is obviously going to be just to upgrade these guys from low tier to high tier as soon as I unlock tier 10. And I got very, very close to that. So close, man. The only other advice I think I'd have about this event is to just mind your VIP level. If you're close to VIP 9, then like obviously snapping that off to get the 10% extra construction speed is a big deal. And so the sooner you get that before you power push, obviously the better. So hopefully this video is helpful about Hall of Chiefs and how you can place well, why it would matter. And to be honest, because you can't use the sort of universal shards on Jeronimo like you can other heroes, like look, I'll show you, right? Like the only way is Hall of Chiefs and VIP packs, right? Whereas if I go to Mali, okay, you can see I can use my general shards. Can't do that. Can't do that on Jeronimo. So that means, I think, that a lot of people who aren't going to be buying Jeronimo anyways, like they don't even need to worry about the Hall of Chiefs at all. Like you can just slow roll your power gain, take your time. If you're not a rally lead, like why are you pushing? And if you aren't going to get that break point of 300 shards, which I learned is very critical, I mean, yeah, maybe you can do a skill upgrade with 100 shards sooner. And that's nice. It's better than nothing. But I think that 300 breakpoint is really critical. And the way it was explained to me is that ideally a server has 3 people that go for that. So what does that mean for me? I'm going to go for a second place finish. If I miss second place, then I need to place twice in a high enough rank that I get the equivalent number of shards. And then we're good to go, hopefully. GG. I don't know exactly when the Hall of Chiefs is going to show up again. Maybe next week. TBD. Today, I've just got so many things to do. We have Alliance Mobilization. We've got the Mercenary Prestige event, Crazy Joe. Vault of Enigma is pretty cool. Anyways, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this stuff. And if you want to see how I got to this point, I can show you the training day, which was an eye-opener for the amount of points I could put on the board. A card to be in the end screen over here in just a second. And I can show you day one, where I realized, like, wait a minute. So you're saying in the Chiefs house I can do a 20% boost to construction? Okay. And I just sped up a ton of stuff, man. It was a good time. Anyways, I got to go figure out chief orders. I'm pretty sure there's a combination of these I need to use and I need to make a video about. That's going to have to happen. But until then, consider subscribing and telling your friends about the channel. If you're enjoying the content and you find it helpful, that's the biggest compliment to me, is you tell a friend. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Good luck, everybody, and take care.